Uditām Bhagavata Narayanena Swayam Vyasena Gratitam Purana Munina Madhye Mahabharatam Advaitaamrutavarshiniim Bhagavatim Ashtadashadhyayiniim Ambatvāmanusandadhāmi Bhagavadgite Bhavadveshiniim Vasudevasutam Devam Kamsachanūramardhanam Devaki Paramanandam Krishnam Vande Jagadgurum Mukam Karoti Vachalam Pangum Langhayate Girim Yatkrupatamaham Vande Paramanandamadhavam. By the infinite grace of Bhagavan Shri Krishna and Bhagavan Shri Ramakrishna, we are studying the Bhagavadgita. We have so far completed 55th verses of this great work. Now we are on the threshold of the description of the sthitaprajna. The sthita means stable, prajna means the intellect. The man of steady wisdom is called sthitaprajna here. How to attain this steady wisdom, steady intellect is the subject of this section. The idea is one can have this steady mind only when the mind is established in God or the Atman. By no other means the mind can be steady. The intellect can be steady. Intellect can be well established. So we have to take into consideration some of the ideas we have already studied in the second chapter to understand the concept of sthitaprajna. Vyavasayatmika buddhi ekeha kurunandana. There is one-pointed concentration that is fixed on one thing, that is God and God alone. And that is one, and that will lead to peace and contentment. The worldly desires are branched into branches, many branches, and each branch is further divided into hundreds of branches. So there is infinite ways the mind moves when we think of the worldly things. Because desires are many, there are some fundamental desires. The fundamental desires are further divided into number of desires, and that number of desires further classify themselves into infinite desires. This is the way of the worldly thinking. The worldly thinking has to be transformed into the spiritual thinking. The spiritual thinking is thinking of God and God alone. Only through that one can have the concentration of mind, the steadiness of the mind. This is what we have studied earlier. The example, the illustration to this effect is given in this section. And such a person who has accomplished this steadiness of the mind, steadiness of the intellect, is called the sthitaprajna. Sometimes we say steadiness of the mind, sometimes we explain steadiness of the intellect. Both are one and the same. Because as we read in the Kathopanishad, it is intellect that guides the mind. The Indian psychology, it is intellect is discerning factor. What is good, what is bad, that is decided by the intellect. and intellect is good, intellect is well regulated, and intellect is well directed, the mind also acts in the same way. Mind is only a jumble of thoughts, pros and cons, good and evil, all kinds of thoughts are moving about, and that function of the internal organ is called the mind or the manaha. The same internal organ, when it takes a decision, when it is possible for it to make a decision and come to a conclusion, that is what is called the intellect. So when you say sthitaprajna, his mind is steady because his intellect is steady. Intellect is purified. When we think of only good thoughts and when we practice spiritual practices like japa, meditation, prayer, etc., our mind will be tuned to one direction. Our mind will be tuned to God and God alone. Then we will have the state of steadiness in intellect. And as I told you, it is intellect that directs the mind, guides the mind. And when intellect is able to guide the mind properly, mind also becomes still, mind becomes calm and quiet. This is the psychology involved in sthitaprajna. Arjuna questions Krishna, O Krishna, sthitaprajnasya ka bhasha. What language sthitaprajna speaks? What kind of speech he utters? Here it is not about language, English, Sanskrit, etc. It is how he speaks, how he deals with the external world, how he interacts with the other people. That is the idea here. Sthitaprajnasya ka bhasha. Samadhi is tasya, because he is introvert. He is engrossed in samadhi. So we read two meanings to the samadhi in the Gita itself. We have already read. One meaning is Atman, where mind completely merges into, that is called samadhiyate asmin manaha, where the mind completely merges, mind loses its individuality and merges into cosmic or universal consciousness. You cannot differentiate your mind with the universal consciousness, and that is what is called the samadhi. The real samadhi is Atman itself, according to the commentator Shankara. And the second meaning is in other context, where this mind, where all our thoughts, all our actions, all the responses, the stimuli from the external world merges into, that is what is called the mind. So we can easily understand this. All our actions through our body and all our perception through different organs like the eyes, ears, etc., they get merged into the mind. It is in the mind we are able to perceive what we hear, what we see, etc. So that is why the mind is also called samadhi. According to the context, we have to understand. Here samadhistasya means here Atman. He is all very well established in Atman. We may raise the question how to establish in Atman. There is no need to establish in Atman. It is not a positive action or the positive sadhana. When we give up all the thoughts of the external world, when mind stops flowing outward, when the indriyas stop perceiving the external experiences like hearing, etc., and what does mind do? The mind goes back into its source, that is Atman. Only Atman remains. That is what is called samadhi here. So of course the sadhana is to purify our mind and become more and more introvert, always think of God and the Atman and established in the Atman. The Atman consciousness simply pervades all the thoughts. Of course, every thought is nothing but a fragment of the Atmic consciousness, but in the Samadhi, all the fragmentation will not be there. I am thinking of this, I am thinking of that, it will be not there. Only consciousness remains, no external experience. They are all experiences of the external nature, and the mind gets merged into the consciousness of Atman. That is what is Samadhistasya Keshava. He is called the of the steady intellect. Sthitadhihi. There are 2-3 words we have to remember. The popular name is sthitaprajna. Prajna means awareness, consciousness. His awareness, consciousness is very established in Atman. He is called the sthitaprajna. He is also called in Gita as sthitadhihi. One who is intellect is very well established. I told you how the mind is very well established in Atman, and through that the mind also comes into complete control. There is an invariable connection, relationship between the mind and the intellect. So the first question is how he interacts with the external world. And Kim Prabhasheta. Rather, the first question indicates or suggests how we see the sthitaprajna from the external angle. Of course, he is very well established in Atman. He sees nothing but Atman. He hears nothing but Atman. His consciousness is fully in Atman. But as we ordinary people, how he perceive him, that is the intention of the question of Arjuna when he says sthitaprajnasya ka bhasha. And the next one is sthitadhihi kim prabhashita. How he interacts with the external world through his speech, and how does he see it, how he conducts himself in the external world. Kimasita, vrajeta, sitting and moving about. These are all indicatory in all how he interacts with the external world, how he behaves with others, etc. And the Lord begins this section. This is the last section of the second chapter of the Gita. The second chapter is very important for the study of the Gita because it contains almost all the teachings of the Gita. It is a summary of the teachings of the Gita. It is one of the biggest chapters, and Krishna speaks now, tells us in detail the characteristics of sthitaprajna. Prajahati yada kaman sarvan partha manogatan atmanyevatmana tushtaha sthitaprajnastadochyate. Kaman. Here the kama word is used in plural. Desires, but means we have hundreds of desires, varieties of desires. That is what is intended here. And all are in the mind, manogatan. So, even in the Yoga Shastra, in the Gita itself, we hear all our desires have residence in our mind itself. So, we have two great enemies, kama yesha, krodha yesha, rajo guna samudbhavaha. They are all in the mind. If mind becomes friend, when it is filled with good thoughts and when it has good passions like compassion, love, etc., but it becomes our own enemy when it is filled with anger and other evil passions. The mind becomes our friend as well as the enemy. So all the desires are manogatan. Manogatan means they all have entered into the mind. They have found residence in the mind. So according to Shankaracharya, manasi pravishtan, hrudi pravishtan. It has entered into our heart. Heart means it is intellect here. Always in Sanskrit, in the Vedantic circle, when you read the literature, hrudi, hrut, that which is in the heart, that is intellect here. So that which is in the mind or in the intellect, that is what are called the kama, the desires. So prajahati, he completely gives up. Parityajati, he completely gives up. How we can give up the mind completely, the desires? It is impossible. Even to live, even to keep the body live is important, impossible if he gives up all the desires. So one should be satisfied with something. Otherwise, one should have a source of his happiness. One should desire something in which he will find the happiness. Then if he gives up all these things and there is no meaning at all in the life, that is the objection one faces. So in order to answer this question, the second line says, Atmannev Atmana Tushtaha. So we, the ordinary people, find happiness in the external world, in the external things. I find happiness in to buy a car or build a house and to earn more money or to have an increment in my career, have a new job and lot of pleasures, and I find happiness. But a sthitaprajna finds his satisfaction, the source of satisfaction. That is what is the Atman itself. I myself is the source of my satisfaction. I myself is the source of all kinds of fulfillment. Krutartata it is called. This is a very important lesson to remember, because we seek happiness outside, but the real happiness is inside. It is the happiness of Atman, being Atman. Atman, Sat, Chit, Ananda. Anando Brahmano Vidyat. Taittiriya Upanishad says. The Ananda, Atma is Ananda, is full of bliss. And in fact, the Upanishad says, whatever Ananda, the bliss we experience outside, is but the minuscule parts of the internal Ananda. It is the internal Ananda which manifests itself, etc. It's the external Ananda in the minute fragments. But if we can find the real source of Ananda, that is infinite nature, that is eternal, and that then we will not seek any external happiness at all. So the sthitaprajna finds his happiness. Atmani eva atmana. So there are two Atmans here. You may be confused. Atmana means his own happiness. Atmana tushtaha. So he finds his own happiness. He established himself in the Atman. So he can make a difference. One is Jivatma, another is Paramatma. For our argument's sake, for learning's sake, absolutely there is no between Jivatma and Paramatma. When we say I am Kartru, I am the doer, I am the sufferer, I am the enjoyer, all these ideas belong to Jiva, it is an individual soul. The individual soul is in reality the Supreme Soul Atman. When individual soul forgets its real nature, and that is what is called the samsara, transmigration from one body to another. So we interact with the external world and try to find out happiness there. So we don't find happiness at all. Then we become introvert and we do sadhana, and through the knowledge we become established in Atman. That Atman is nothing but the real Atman, real self. It is just like, so you see the image in the mirror, your own image in the mirror. So here there are two entities. One is you, the real I, and there is an image in the mirror. So both are not different. It is your own image. When you go out in front of the mirror, when you just pass away from the mirror, and what remains is the image just merges in you. There will be no two, there is only one. So in the same way, it is just like Jivatma finds its full satisfaction in being Paramatma, because Jivatma is really the Paramatman itself. This is the meaning of Atmanyeva Atmana Tushtaha. One finds happiness or the satisfaction in himself. Atmani eva tushtaha, completely satisfied. The satisfaction is one character or the one trait the whole common uh, people of this contemporary society are suffering from. We do not have satisfaction at all. We don't find satisfaction in the external thing, and we find gratification. It gratifies our mind, it excites our indriyas or the senses, but these pleasures do not give us the satisfaction. The satisfaction means accomplishment. I have nothing to do further. What I have to do, what I wanted to do is I have done it. This is the meaning of krutartata, artha. What has to be done has been done already. That krutartata you will not find in the external world, that you can find in God and the Atman alone. That is why Krishna says one finds satisfaction, the real satisfaction. In the external one you will never find the real satisfaction. Always there is craving for more, more, more. If you eat a good delicacy, you want more. I have eaten Mysore pak, I want more. I have done this much, I want to do more. I have to earn this much money, I want more. I have one building, I want second, third, fourth. And so, if we have so many buildings, I have to raise the building to second floor, third floor, fourth floor. So there is an endless desire. So there is absolutely no satisfaction. But in the Atman, you will find the complete satisfaction, because you have come to your real abode. Upanishad says, gives an example. The birds go out and move around for searching for food. In the evening, the birds come back to their nest. They find full rest and full satisfaction to come back to the nest in the evening. In the same way, we go out and try to find satisfaction, our real happiness outside, and we fail, and at last we come back and find satisfaction in ourselves. And that is the Atman, that is the real abode, our real abode, the source of infinite happiness, Ananda, infinite existence, and infinite knowledge. So this is the meaning of Atmannev Atmana Tushtaha. And that person who has accomplished this feat is called sthitaprajna tadoshyate. And what are his externally how he behaves, and how we can determine whether a person is a sthitaprajna or not. So some of the characters are very, very beautiful, and it is all there described in the Gita, so that we can emulate them, we can imitate them. We have a beautiful book in the Christian tradition called the Imitation of Christ by Thomas A. Kempis. So what he has done is, he has followed the footsteps of the Jesus Christ. In every action, every speech, he has followed. He wanted to imitate Jesus Christ, so that he can be united with the Jesus Christ. In the same way, when we try to imitate sthitaprajna, we will be also in the course of time, we can have a state of mind which is nearer to sthitaprajna. At least we may not be sthitaprajna in this life. At least we will be nearer to that. Our mind will be calm, our intellect will be sharpened, we lead a pure life, we rely less upon the external world when we get satisfied with the God and with our own Atman. What a blissful life it will be. So what are the characteristics that we have to imitate, that we have to try to practice? That is why Shankaracharya says, what is siddhi, what is accomplished in sthitaprajna is something to be practiced by the sadhaka. So these are all the qualities we have to try our best to practice in our life. So Krishna says here in the shloka, 56th shloka, Dukkheshu anudvigna manaha Sukheshu vigataspruhaha Vita raga bhaya krodhaha Titadhihi muniruchyate. Dukkha. Dukkha is a imperative part of our life. One cannot live without any dukkha. We have to accept it. The problem is, even after 50 or 60 years, we fail to understand dukkha is something part and parcel of our life. So there cannot be life without dukkha. If we want to live a life, we have to accept the fact. If there is a happiness, the happiness is followed by the misery. If there is misery, misery is followed by the happiness. So Holy Mother Sharda Devi says, if one is on the bridge, there is a river or the water is flowing below, the water is flows and stays for some time at the bottom of the bridge and again flows away from the bridge, coming from that side and flows for some time below the bridge and goes away after that. In the same way, whether it is misery or the happiness, sukha or the dukkha, so it comes for some time, it will be there and it will go away. That's why Krishna says, Agama payanaha anityaha tan titikshasva bharata, that we have already read. They come and go. So, anudvigna manaha. So, in the time of crisis, we should not be too much perturbed. We should not be too much agitated. That is the characteristic of a perfect soul that we have to try to imitate. So whenever there is a crisis, there is a difficulty, there is a problem in our life, there are many every day, every minute we experience some problem or the other. So we should maintain the equanimity. That is already told, Samatvam Yoga Uchyate. That is the mantra. That is the essence of all the spiritual life. In all the time, keep the mind equal, keep the mind in peaceful condition without getting disturbed. Dukkheshu anudvigna manaha, sukheshu vigataspruhaha. So these are the two characteristics of a common man. When in dukkha, he gets agitated. I don't want dukkha anymore. I don't want this situation anymore. I want to avoid it. That will be his state of mind. When in sukha, when in the time of happiness, he wants more and more and more. Suppose when you are eating, you get a dish that you don't like and you don't want to eat it again because you don't relish. I don't want to do it again. I don't want to face this again. That you will say again and again in the time of crisis, when you are not relishing it, when you are not enjoying it, when you are not happy with it. But when you relish a good dish, that is a very delicacy, you like it very much, you say, you bring another one, give me another one, I want to eat. So the situations and the conditions which are favorable to us, we want it more and more. That is what is called here spruha. Spruha means craving for the conditions which are favorable to us. That is the dukkha. So in simple definition of sukha and dukkha as given in the Vedantic literature is, what is favorable to us, that condition of state of mind is sukha. What is not favorable to us, that is dukkha. What is favorable to us, we want it again and again, that is spruha, the craving to repeat that condition, repeat that situation again and again, that is spruha. In dukkha, we don't want it, we dvesha, we hate it, I don't want it again, I don't want it again. That is called the dvesha. So in dukkha, we develop hatred towards that condition of dukkha. In sukha, we develop the mental condition of craving for more and more such situations. So Krishna asks us, instructs us to avoid both the conditions. One who is devoid of the excitement in both the conditions. So we should not be too much perturbed in dukkha, and we should avoid craving for more and more of the enjoyment in the time of the happiness. That is the only way to keep the mind peace and in tranquil condition. And second line says, Vita Raga Bhaya Krodhaha. So Vita means one who has given up, one who has relinquished, one who has one who has driven away this kind of passion. What are the passions to be driven out in from our mind? Raga, the passion. Raga means attachment towards something. I am very much attached to my son. When my son goes away, when my son goes to the America, and I will be very unhappy. So that is raga. And bhaya, I am afraid I may die after some time because I am very ill. I am very much fearful. My father or mother, whoever they are dear to me, they may die. So full of fear. So the life is full of the conditions which are scary, which are fearful. So one had to give it up. And also the krodha, the anger. The anger is, as Krishna says in the another chapter, it is nothing but another form of the kama. Kama and krodha are the two faces of the same coin. So when there is an obstruction to fulfill our desire, there arises the anger. So I want to eat some good dish, there is some obstruction, nobody is giving me, so slowly the anger develops. We become angry. So anger develops in the mind, then it will be expressed orally. So everything is in the mind. So these passions, what we call detrimental to spiritual advancement or the spiritual growth. If we want to seek God, if we want to lead a spiritual life, we should avoid all the conditions. We should avoid in all conditions these passions, the raga, the attachment, the dvesha, krodha, the anger, and also the fear. Suppose you just close your eyes for a few seconds, just imagine a condition, an ideal condition, situation. Just, I have no raga, no attachment, I have no fear, I have no anger, I have no craving for anything, I am not at all perturbed at anything, just for few seconds. How you will feel? You will feel peace universal. A kind of feeling of satisfaction comes to you. That is the normal state of mind of a sthitaprajna. So these are the life lessons we have to learn from the perfected souls, the sthitaprajna. Yaha sarvatra anabhisnehaha tattat prapya shubhashubham nabhinandati nadveshti tasya prajna pratishtita. So sarvatra, in all conditions, every situation in life. So even with regard to keeping our life intact, that means protection of our own my body, he should have no affection, self-centered affection. What a beautiful translation. This sneha, we know, every one of us know the meaning of this sneha, that affection, the friendliness, attachment is translated as abhisneha. So abhi means everywhere, in all circumstances. So Swami Tapasyanandaji translated it as self-centered affection. So I think I am body and mind. What is close to, what is dear to my body and mind, I develop a kind of affinity. That is what is called abhisneha. Here anabhisneha, divide of it abhisneha. So why should I not develop a kind of affinity, attachment towards my relatives and other things which are dear to me? What is the problem? The problem is, in due course, it will give us immense misery. They are not the sources of happiness, they are but the sources of the misery. That is why, in order to maintain tranquility in my mind, I should avoid being over friendly, over attached to anything. That is the condition, that is the state of mind. Krishna is instructing us to practice. Yaha sarvatra anabhisneha, without any kind of self-centered affection or the attachment or the what you call the too much get entangled with anything, that we should try to avoid. Then how to do it? Tattat prapya shubha shubham nabhinandati nadveshti. Shubha and Ashubha. We all know Shubha means a Shubha Muhurte, the marriage is done, Shubha. And if somebody dies, it is Ashubha. So, Tattat Prapya. So, we come across situations, sometimes the conditions or the happenings are Shubha, they are auspicious, we say, and some are unauspicious. Auspicious and unauspicious. What is our reaction in the time of auspiciousness? We rejoice, we enjoy, and in the time of inauspiciousness, we cry, we weep, and we are very moroseful. To avoid that, tattat prapya shubha shubham, whatever good and evil, favorable conditions or unfavorable condition, one na abhinandati na dveshti. So, in the time of favorable condition, auspicious occasion, that we feel we have to recur again and again in our life, auspicious occasions have to come again and again. That is why we Indians are very fond of festivals. Festivals are all auspicious occasion. We want to have a kind of festival every month, every year hundreds of festivals, so that we can rejoice, enjoy our life. So, but life is also full of miserable conditions also, unfortunately. So, when the time of crisis, when the unfavorable condition, we should not rejoice too much. We should not be excited too much. And in the time of the Ashubha, when there is an unauspicious occasion, when there are unfavorable occasion, we should not hate it. Nadveshti, already I explained how we hate the unfavorable condition and how we love and invite the favorable condition. That is our weakness. One who is devoid of it, one who has given up that, who will be of same-sightedness and maintain the same kind of state of mind, and who is full of tranquility and peace inside, because he is established in Atman. Atmaneva Atmana tushtaha tasya prajna pratishtita. His intellect is very firmly established. Firmly established, we have already learned, it is established, it is well grounded in Atman itself. There is nothing for him to be happy about, to rejoice about in the external world. He finds his source of sustenance, source of happiness, source of infinite joy in Atman itself. He always is satisfied with his own Atman. That is the state of sthitaprajna. Now Krishna gives an example. So how to practice the self-control. Self-control is another important character of sthitaprajna. Without self-control, here self-control means control of the senses. Why we have to control the senses? Senses are always extrovert in nature. So Kathopanishad says the Lord has created these senses extrovert. They are all moving outward. For example, the eyes are moving towards the form. Eyes always want to see some form or the another. Good senses, good form, good what you call rupa, good the beautiful forms, wonderful senses, always craving for that. And the eyes, the ears are also wants to hear some good, always wonderful things. So the taste, that tongue always want to taste the delicacies. So very delicious food and also delicious drink, etc., etc. So the senses are always engaged this. So senses have no character of going inward and enjoy the bliss of Atman. Senses are always outward. It is how they are made up, how they are created. It is their natural propensity, natural quality. So, in order to have real happiness, we have to withdraw the senses from external world and we have to merge into the mind. This is what is called yama, withdrawing the senses. So I am not allowing my eyes to see the wonderful things. Rather, even I am seeing some wonderful thing, I am not attached to it. That is what is called yama. You cannot avoid seeing because eyes are seeing something. You may not be attached to that. The attachment to what we see happens in the mind. So the raga and dvesha are in the mind. Attachment is in the mind. We may be seeing some wonderful thing, wonderful scenery or the wonderful form. We may not get attached to this. That is what is called the withdrawing the mind, withdrawing the senses or the withdrawing the mind. This is what is instructed, what is to be done without attempting the concentration. Unless we withdraw the mind from the external things, our not allowing our senses to go about searching for pleasure outside, we will not be able to concentrate our mind. So there is an invariable relationship between meditation and the self-control or the control of the senses or the mind. Unless we withdraw the mind, we are not able to concentrate on a particular object. That is why in the Yoga Shastra, first the withdrawal of the mind is instructed. Pratyahara, dharana, and dhyana comes. Pratyahara means pratyahara, collecting the mind. Mind is scattered now. Every minute mind wants something. Mind is as if scattered. So we have to collect them and we have to make it one pointed. That is what Krishna says, vyavasayatmika bhiddhi. So that collected mind, one pointed mind should be focused on one object. That is called dharana, the focusing. When that focusing of the mind is continuous, that is called the dhyana or the meditation. So if we want to lead a spiritual life so that we can get the infinite joy, control of the mind, the control of the senses are absolutely necessary. In order to teach that, Krishna gives a very good example. And he says, Yada samharate chayam kurmonganiva sarvashaha indriyani indriyartebhyaha tasya prajna pratishtita. I am not describing this section from the standpoint of sthitaprajna at all. That is what it is described. But we are learning all these characters so that we can practice them in our life to make our life really a spiritual life. So the sthitaprajna lakshana, it is sthitaprajna lakshana. It is nothing to do with me. This should not be our attitude. All these characteristics, all these qualities are meant to be practiced by us. That is the intention of Lord Krishna. Yada samharate means one who withdraws. Yada samharate cha ayam. Anganeva, kurmonganeva sarvashaha. Eva means like this. As the kurma, the tortoise, out of fear of enemies, just withdraws its limbs into its shell, then you will not be able to make a difference between a rock and a tortoise. Tortoise will remain unmoving, immovable. When an enemy comes, enemy means any animals come, which tortoise thinks an enemy, simply it withdraws its limbs, the legs, etc. It remains stationary. That is the way of protection. That is God has given a capability, a natural capability of protecting a tortoise. It has given to tortoise an ability to do it. This is the ideal practice we have to follow if we want to protect ourselves from the external influences or the worldly life. That is what Krishna says here. As the limbs, as the kurma or the tortoise withdraws its limbs, sarvashaha is very important from all these sides. So I withdraw my mind from what I see, but I don't withdraw my mind from what I hear. It will not do. So whatever we see, whatever we hear, whatever we taste, whatever we think, everything external, the mind should be withdrawn. Then only the state of meditation is possible. That is the instruction here. So just like the tortoise withdraws its limbs in time of crisis. In the same way, when one withdraws all the indriyas, as I already told you, the eyes, ears, the organ of taste, organ of smell, organ of touch, all the indriyas. I am no longer interested in the external experiences. I no longer derive any joy out of them. I derive joy only in Atman. So all the indriyas, all their indriyas are withdrawn from their respective objects. We have to learn two words here. It is very important in the study of the Gita. One is the indriyas, another is indriyarthas. Indriyartha means objects of the indriya. Indriya means sense organs. The eye is an indriya, the sense organ. The object of the eye is what we see, which is called rupa or the form. The ear is an indriya. The object of the indriya, the ear, is what we hear, the sound. The organ of the taste, which is in the tip of the tongue, is an indriya, and what we taste, the sweet, bitter, cold, hot, everything is but the object for it. So all experiences are caused by the contact of indriya with the objects. So the eyes have contact with the rupa or the form, the ears have contact with the shabda, etc., etc. So what is required in the state of meditation is to withdraw the mind from those objects of indriyas. So indriyas are to be withdrawn by the mind, because it is in the mind all the sensations of the indriyas are felt. So it is as good as as I am trying to withdraw the indriyas means, senses mean, it is as good as I am trying to control the mind also. So there are two connecting points. One is connection between indriyas and the objects of the indriyas, and indriyas and the mind. So mind is connected to the sense organs, and sense organs are connected to objects of the sense organs. First of all, through the mind, we have to control, withdraw the senses itself, so that senses will not go out and connected with the objects of the mind. So all the senses are as if merged in the mind, and mind as if it is established in the Atman or the God. This is the process of meditation. The same kind of process you will find in the yoga of Patanjali, where Patanjali asks us to collect the mind, withdraw the mind, then focus the mind. That is pratyahara and dharana. Then the continuity of that focus or the concentration which lasts for several minutes, it is called the dhyana. So that is why Krishna says here, it is common in all the religious systems in India. This is how the control of the mind or the control of the senses happen. Indriyani indriyartebhyaha. So I have already told you, there is indriyas and also the sense organs. Indriyartha. Artha means objects. Objects connected to particular indriya. I already told you, I will repeat. The ear, the form is connected to eye, the sound is connected to the ear, and also some kind of taste is connected to the organ of taste we feel in the tip of the tongue. So, indriyartha is the objects of the senses, indriyas are the senses. The normal state of sthitaprajna is that he has completely withdrawn all the objects from the indriyas. Indriyas are no longer, indriyas are completely withdrawn from the objects of the senses. Indriyas are to be withdrawn from the senses, objects of the senses. You can ask where they will go if they are withdrawn. They are all merged into mind. Mind will be the reciprocal, mind will be crucible where all the senses will merge. The senses are no longer going to enjoy their objects at all. So that mind is further focused or concentrated in God or the Atman. That is the state of mind of the sthitaprajna. Sthita indriyani indriyartebhyaha tasya prajna samharate. That is samharate, withdrawing, is something common in both example and also in sthitaprajna. In kurma, that is tortoise as well as the sthitaprajna. As the tortoise withdraws all its limbs, though the sthitaprajna withdraws all his senses from the respective objects of the senses. And such a person, mind or the consciousness, awareness is well established. So whenever you hear his mind or is well established or intellect is very established, we should always understand it to be his mind, intellect or consciousness or awareness are established in his own self, Atman. Or for the sake of convenience, we can understand his mind is very well established in God. His intellect is very much established in God. His consciousness, awareness is very much pointed, well established in God and God alone. Because we don't make any difference between God and the Pratyagatman. Because the Upanishad itself says he is our Antaryami. Antaryami means one who is inside and also one who is controlling. He is inside of us and he is controlling our body, mind, everything. He is the Purusha, he is the Narayana, he is the inner control of the whole world. The spiritual entity, that is what we are. In the Vedanta, it is called the Pratyagatma. He is the indwelling spirit. So our source of happiness, our source of enjoyment, our source of real satisfaction is only in Atman and nowhere else. And this is the instruction we are hearing from the Lord Krishna. The Vishaya vinivartante niraharasya dehinaha rasavarjam rasopyasya param društva nivartate. So the withdrawal of the mind or the withdrawal of the senses are possible even in normal circumstances. Suppose you are very much ill, you are not able to hear properly, you are not able to taste the food at all, You are not able to see also properly. It is also a kind of withdrawal. So, what is the difference between sthitaprajna and such a state of mind, normal state, where one has become very weak, one has become very ill, where he is not able to enjoy the world, he is not able to touch, he is not able to see, he is not able to hear, etc. Then what is the state between sthitaprajna and him? That is the question before us. So, the fundamental difference between an ordinary circumstances like this and sthitaprajna is very much spelt out in this shloka. Suppose a sick man, he is not able to taste the food, but he is craving for the food in his mind. Suppose he is not able to hear, but he is craving to hear something, enjoy something. He is not able to enjoy anything. He is not able to enjoy his food. He is not able to enjoy his drinking. He is not able to enjoy anything because he is so sick and he is very, very weak. Still, in his mind, there is craving, there is desire. It is called rasa in this sloka. So, what is rasa is inner craving, inner desire, inner hankering. So, you are a diabetic. Diabetes people are not supposed to eat anything made up of sugar. They have to be extremely careful. We avoid it. Normally, we are very good people, we avoid it. But we cannot avoid our inner feeling, inner craving, taste for the sweets, craving for the sweets, inner desire for the sweets. That is what is called here rasa. So, what is the difference between sthitaprajna and an ordinary man? In sthitaprajna, even that craving has gone, the inner desire has gone, taste for the things of the world has gone. He really does not want anything other than Atman. So already we have read Atmaneva Atmana Tushtaha. So that is the difference between an ordinary man who has no capacity to enjoy the thing and a perfected soul, sthitaprajna, who really has given up everything. That is shown in this shloka. Vishaya vinivartante niraharasya dehinaha. So nirahara. Today I will not eat anything. Today is Ekadashi. I am not supposed to eat anything. I will eat everything which is not made up of rice. Not rice. I won't take rice. You see, on that particular day, you will develop more craving or more desire to have the rice. That is the problem. When all others are eating the rice, and you will develop, oh, today is Ekadashi, I am not supposed to eat, but tomorrow I will eat, tomorrow. The craving is there. He cannot give up the craving. That's what Krishna says. Nirahara means one who has given up, one who has abstinent. He is called the Nirahara. Dehi, one who is living in the Deha, an ordinary person. Niraharasya Dehinaha Vishayaha Nivartante. All the objects of enjoyments have gone. He has decided, I will not eat that thing, I will not see this thing, I will not hear that thing, I will engage in meditation, I will do meditation whole day. But when you sit for meditation, all your cravings will come up. Let me see something, let me hear something, let me eat something, let me taste something. Little bit, oh, so craving. You cannot give up the thing. The things are no longer there. Physically you are not enjoying. Vishaya nivartante. They are all gone. But the rasa has not gone. Rasa varjam, Krishna says in the next line. Accept the rasa, accept the craving for it. When that rasa will go away, when that craving will go away, when the inside what you call inherent desire for it, craving for it will go, taste for it will go away. Asya rasaha param društva nivartate. When only when we have the realization of God, or when we are fully established in Atman, that rasa or the craving will go away. Until that, the desire will remain. So what our goal is to lessen the desire, lessen the intensity of desire, make our mind more and more strong, and develop willpower and reduce the intensity of the desires slowly, slowly, slowly. Only when we are fully established in the state of God's consciousness or Atman consciousness, all kinds of craving, all kinds of desires will go away. Until that, we have to strive, and we have to pursue our spiritual path. This is the teaching or the message of Krishna. So, what is important is not to physically avoid the things, but to remain detached, try to be more and more inward, try to more and more withdraw the mind, even when we are surrounded by the worldly objects. We cannot physically dissociate from the worldly objects, it is impossible, but we can definitely dissociate ourselves from the worldly objects. Especially we have to do in mind that a rasa is more dangerous. The craving is more dangerous than physical association with the world. That's why Sri Krishna, Krishna says, the Sri Ramakrishna also says, you cannot go away from the world. You cannot go to ashram, or you cannot go to the arat. Be in the world, but don't allow the worldliness to creep into the mind. A boat is in water, but we should not allow water to enter into the boat. That is the idea. So we cannot avoid the world. Let us not worldliness, the evil desires, to creep into our heart or the mind. This is the message of Sri Ramakrishna and the Lord Krishna. Om Shanti 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 Hari Om Tat Sat Shri Ramakrishna Arpanamastu.